All right, I'm gonna just jump right in, and y'all watch it later. Whoever gets on while I'm talking, y'all get on. Listen, I just left the Miles Guo trial. Guo Wengui, Ho Wen Kwok, that's his name. If you guys aren't familiar with him yet, after all the things I posted about him and the songs I made about him, albums I dropped for him, Miles Guo. He is a Chinese billionaire who became a billionaire by building, by being an architect and building some of China's biggest architectures, like the Pangu Plaza and other things. So this is how he became a billionaire. So I'm going to give you some of the stuff. Now, I want you to take notes because this is serious. The trial, I couldn't believe my ears. Hearing what the courts acknowledged, what is established as absolute fact within the court. You have to hear this, bro. You have got to hear this. This is the level of corruption of our government I've never seen like we've seen it. But when you hear it and watch it being displayed in court and being accepted right there in court and established as fact and yet continue to be corrupt was unreal. I'm talking about OMG. So here it is. Miles Guo became a billionaire by himself from his own brain, becoming an architect and building the Pangu Plaza. From that, all by itself, established by the court, he was already living a lavish lifestyle. Buying himself, yachts and cars and, nice living. That was already done, settled, clean. He was born in like 1968. The courts established that he took place in the Tiananmen Square massacre in China and witnessed those things. He witnessed the Tiananmen Square massacre. Okay? This is what activated him. And then they begin to establish the fact that he was continued to be a true patriot and lover of China against the Communist Chinese Party for the types of things they did, including the Tiananmen Square massacre. Then they established, this is the judge, and the prosecutor and the defense, all established stuff and accepted as fact. Shot at Tiananmen, his brother was shot and killed, Tiananmen Square. Okay? He was imprisoned and tortured by the Chinese Communist Party, which today he still has lashes and scars and torture wounds all over his body for. Now, they are firm on the fact that not only was he activated as a force against the CCP, he had to escape China because he was dissent. He was a whistleblower. He dissented against the CCP. And so he had to escape China because they wanted to kill him and continue to do the things that they do to Chinese people under the Chinese Communist Party. They were doing that. So these are all established things in court. Keep this in mind because it's so important, bro. All established. He came to the U.S. and activated Chinese Americans and Chinese whistleblowers who also have an issue with the CCP, and he built, because the CCP, by the way, another thing that I forgot, the CCP froze his billions in China. They froze them and said all he has to do is just come back and they'll unfreeze him. But it's frozen until while you're in the in the US or something like that, right? So just imagine, so this is also established in court. The same court that's coming against them, they all have established these things as fact, that China indeed froze his billions, that he indeed had billions prior to any other endeavor from his own architecture and building these things. Facts, established as facts. China, not only after all of this, China people to the U.S. You remember those Chinese, those CCP police stations that were here in New York, and that they were found in several other states, like I think California and some other places? The CCP police stations, where they literally had police stations ran by the Chinese Communist Party. Turns out, fact, not just established fact by the court, documented fact, those stations were built to attack Miles Guo with thousands of laptops and phones made specifically to create fake accounts to attack Miles Guo. The court established as fact that the CCP spent nearly $1 billion to get Miles Guo and sent operatives here to find him, tried to work with the government. Literally, the reason why, some people don't know, the reason why Pras Michel has 20-year prison sentence is because Pras Michel was enlisted by Pras Michel, by the way, the rapper from the Fugees. Ooh la la la, that's the way that we rock when we doing our thing. Pras Michel, he was enlisted by the CCP to lobby our government for our government to send Miles Guo back to China. So they've been working since 2017 to get Miles back to China. They even created these CCP stations to go after and target anyone who dissents against CCP, and labeled on the court documents as the #1 target for why these stations were built in the first place across these different states was labeled on the documents CCP enemy #1, Miles Guo. So all of this, remember, it's all established. These are the things that the court is all recognizing as fact. So they literally etched out all of the efforts of the CCP, corrupting our governments and all the things that they're doing. They acknowledged it all, bro. All of it's put on paper. It's established as he's a full-blown China-hating, CCP-hating patriot who wants to save the Chinese people. Fact, bro. And then they say, so he just got 30. He just got a 30-year sentence. And you won't believe, after the court reads all these things and establishes all of these facts, that the CCP has enlisted people in our government to do these things, and they know it. They then say, oh, and then the defense said, so the case is for frauding his investors, right? So he supposedly frauded investors because coming to the U.S., he created a new force against the CCP right here because they froze his money over there. Yet he still had multi-millions, big boy millions of his own, and his own toys prior to any of the claimed frauds that the court claims to have happened, prior to any of the dates that they have. So they brought 240 witnesses, and Miles' defense was able to show and prove to the court that the U.S. government brought 240 witnesses, 40 of which was found to be one person, and the other 200 or so basically reading off on a template, like off the same template. So remember, they established that the CCP is enlisting people and threatening their families in China to death, to actual death, is threatening the families here to go against Miles Guo, and if they stand with him, their family will be threatened. Remember that. And they know that. The court established it and said that's true. And yet, they said that 230 people, whatever, said they were frauded by Miles Guo. So they got witnesses, right? But the Miles' defense said, yes, but here's the difference between our witnesses and yours. We brought 6,000 witnesses, all of which we verified, cross-examined, and got statements from one by one in person with real authentication. The court has yet to do that to us, with us. We brought 6,000, and that's just for the Himalaya. They brought another 1,200 and plus. And this is the judge reading this, bro. The judge is reading also reading the amount of witnesses these people brought and how many people who are investors in the coin that they say is the fraud coin, they're investors. Imagine 6,000 individual people who are supposedly part of a scheme from Miles to be frauded, and 6,000 people come out and say, I am an investor too, and I haven't been frauded. What are you talking about? And to write it in full detail. Now, the Himalaya coin is like a crypto, basically, right? And by the way, so this is the reason why Miles made this crypto. It was a place for Chinese dissidents to gain their money, because secretly behind, so that in a way that the CCP can't see. And the court established that as fact, and that it was indeed useful for that, and that it was indeed it makes sense. Like, these people are literally targeted to the point of death over here by the CCP. They're targeted, and they even their money and everything they make, they're targeted. Their banks are frozen. The CCP has so much tentacles in our government, bro. You won't believe. So all of these things are acknowledging. Everything that I'm saying is acknowledged by the court. You've got to keep that in mind. Acknowledged by the court. And so Miles made this thing, so these coins, for ways to get paid, and people to make money and earn and be able to dodge the CCP's efforts to try and silence people, silence dissenters. Right? So this is established. Right? And so this is so this is one of the counts: conspiracy to launder money or something, right? Yet they established the attacks on the people that were being funded through this, where there was no laundering, the money was all solid, but because it's like this back door that people are able to make money and not be known by CCP specifically, there's something there, right? While still establishing that this is the only way that these Chinese people can survive without being attacked by the CCP. The Chinese people here in America, the ones that come here and are against the CCP comes after them hard, like literally to the point of killing their families. Like, the court's establishing all of these things. He said all of this, and then they said, even though all of these things are true, this is what the judge says, even though all these things are true, and you've established all of these facts as really being someone from the CCP who is motivated as a patriot to defend our country, and also, by the way, who has given our country some of the greatest, Miles has given some of our country some of the biggest, most top secret, high level intel, and established in the court, high level intel to our government about the CCP. Yet, the reason why he got 30 years is because he was selling dreams to people about investing in his companies, which were all like solid companies. G Fashion had, I was wearing one earlier today. I went to court with it. $5,000 Italian made, like, super fire coat that's just fine linen and great detail. He has G Fashion, all the stuff. If you look it up, the clothes are like fine linen, like Versace, Louis Vuitton, up there type. He established GTV, which is, where he disseminates information. He literally spends 24 hours on these stations that are his own, talking about the CCP and exposing them. Not just talking like little funny business and just claiming to have this. Coming out and exposing some of the greatest, most serious details about the Chinese Communist Party on his channels through GTV, through NFSC, through Himalaya Coin, through the Global Alliance, through all of these things. He's literally exposing the CCP like 24/7. That's what all his networks are for. And all of these people who are whistleblowers and dissenters who come to the U.S. who are suffering because of the CCP, and the literal millions of people in China who are on his side, and the ones who expose information from the CCP within their own government because they're against the CCP, are the ones that are so hyped about funding these projects because somebody is exposing the CCP. And that's what their hope is. They're literally like, here, take my money. I want to give it all up to fight the CCP with you. This is what the investments are. And it's clear in the court that he's not lying to people, because he's factually like a hardcore, thoroughbred, blood in, blood out, anti-CCP person, like literally from his childhood, literally watching his brother get shot. And he's telling investors, like all these dissenters are investing in all these different things and becoming part of the G Club, which is also a membership. And they're all literally eating the fruits of all of this and watching their country get closer and closer to being saved from the Chinese Communist Party. Yet the claim that they made is that so the judge said yes, but it's still, all of these things are all completely true, but it doesn't excuse you and the fact that you told people they were going to get this and which they didn't prove, by the way. They didn't say, he never told anybody any promises, and the court never gave any documentation in that fact. They used their 200 little peasy witnesses who were all very likely, even according to the court's calculations, very likely bought and paid by the CCP or threatened by the CCP, and said it still doesn't let me read you one of the accounts of the witnesses. And they went to the whole emotion game. The witness, Miles, I believed in Miles's mission to take down the CCP, and it was all a lie, and I invested this much money, and now my husband wants to divorce me, and I'm getting financial troubles, and my hair's falling out, blah 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 blah. Like this a hearsay. And what the court has established is likely a person who's been threatened by the CCP. This is the reason why they bought the words of people of 200 witnesses, 240 witnesses, 40 of which were one person proved, and 200 which were template, textbook, read from the same freaking template people. And they said, you frauded these people, and all these people are suffering because you lied to them as though you were going to take down the CCP, and as you had all these things that you were doing. Meanwhile, the only reason why any of these people didn't make, let's say they invested in something, didn't make money back, is because we arrested Miles Guo. We literally put him in jail, bro. We put the guy in jail, and the money that is the money that would be coming back is now taking a major hit because they locked up the source, and they still blame him for the source not producing it, bro. I've seen the whole Trump thing, all the things that they did to him, but I have never sat in a courtroom and witnessed such incredible levels of absolute flat out corruption. And Miles, by the way, stood firm through that whole thing, chest up, face firm, chill, and maintained his innocence, and said and basically maintained the position that not only did he not fraud people for over $500+ million, he didn't even fraud up $1. He could probably get some type of plea agreement if he says, well, all right, you could get me on that one, and I did fraud maybe $7,000. Just get me on that. No, he's like, give me 30 years. I didn't fraud $1. Period. And I'm going to prove something to you, by the way. This morning, he fainted. He was supposed to be in court at 11. He fainted. Was coughing up blood, was taken to the hospital this morning, and the date of his trial was coughing up blood. And then the judge and the prosecutor were saying, "Oh, he was delaying things, acting like he was sick, da 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 da." And then he never talks in court. He lets the lawyer do his thing. And he got up at the end. He said, "Look, I never talked in court, but I'm going to talk right now." First of all, prosecutor said earlier that one officer took me from here to there because I fainted. One officer took me. Why don't you look in the camera? It was 2. You got that part wrong. 3. Just go to the camera and see me throwing up all over my whole body and puking up blood in the cameras. Just don't ask me. Don't take my word for it. Go to the cameras. Go to the cameras in the hospital when I was pale white. You know, all of these things, letting them know that even in that, the prosecutors couldn't tell the truth. That even in that, and that was his point. Like, even in this, you couldn't tell the truth. Not even in this little thing, you couldn't tell the truth. So don't take my word for it. It's okay. Go to the cameras. And then at the end, when the judge was already out, she stepped out. He was there, and he was wiping his mouth, and then he coughed, and then in his napkin, he looks, and there's blood on the napkin in court. And he's like, "Look." He showed it to his lawyer. He's like, "Look." And the judge wasn't there to see it, but I was there to see it. I was there watching through the screen, and he's showing the blood that's coming out of his mouth in court. But he didn't even mention it. After he had that in his pot, he had blood from his thing. He didn't even mention it. But the rest of the world saw that. So, bruh, our system is corrupt. The CCP is evil as hell. Judge Lisa Torres, I believe it is. Lisa Torres, in the Southern District of New York Court, corrupt. She actually said, "I am the law." Not today, but she said it in another hearing. So this is the type of people we're dealing with, folks. Miles Go is innocent. If I ever rocked with him before, I'm gonna rock with that guy even harder now, bro. Miles is innocent, bro. Free Miles Go. Let's go.